This is one of the largest and fastest growing companies in America. It doubled its valuation to $100 billion in just 1 month, and they don't sell Teslas, they don't sell iPhones, they sell securities and cryptocurrencies. Robinhood is not the high growth company that we're talking about today. Today, we're talking all things Coinbase and whether it's a buy or a sell at the upcoming initial public offering. Coinbase is the largest American cryptocurrency exchange platform, which is set to go public on April 14th with a valuation of about $100 billion. In this video, I'll go in depth on the analysis and valuation of Coinbase. I'll cover why I think this stock could easily 5x fast and how I plan to structure my investment into Coinbase. Here I have the Coinbase valuation chart. In October of 2018, Coinbase was valued just over $8 billion. In January of 2021, not too long ago, Coinbase was valued at $54 billion. Then, just in 1 month's time in February, the valuation jumped to $100 billion. Coinbase is going to IPO with a valuation or market cap of $90 billion. But it makes you a little bit concerned to invest in something that literally doubled just 1 month ago. But let's take a look at the revenue, profit margins, and growth and compare it to some other companies in a similar industry to see if the valuation is justified. Coinbase had a revenue in 2020 of $1.14 billion. Their 2019 revenue was only $482 million, which means they doubled and then some in just 1 year. They also made a gross profit of about $322 million, which is nearly a 30% profit margin. It's honestly spectacular to see a company like this profiting at such an early stage in its growth, but it's even better to see that they have such a high profit margin. Some of these big companies like Pinterest, Airbnb, and Dropbox aren't even expected to be profitable for a while, and they're still trading at high valuations. But here we have Coinbase, which is already turning a profit before it even IPOs. This could be an insane opportunity. We can also compare the fundamentals of Coinbase to other companies that are in a similar space. Square had a $9.5 billion revenue in 2021 and a $4.7 billion revenue in 2019, which represents a 101% year-over-year revenue growth. Square had a high year-over-year revenue growth just like Coinbase did. Both companies more than doubled. Coinbase had almost 1.5 times the monthly users of Square, but they generated much less revenue than Square. The shocking thing is, Square ended up profiting less than Coinbase did. Square has 9 times the revenue of Coinbase, but nets less money because their profit margins are only 2%. But the valuation on Square is $104 billion, which is similar to Coinbase. Next, Schwab. A large stock brokerage and a financial services platform had $11.7 billion revenue in 2020 and a $10.7 billion revenue in 2019. This only represents a 9.5% year-over-year growth, but this comes with no surprise because Schwab is already an established and large company. Schwab does have a high profit margin similar to Coinbase. Schwab profited about $3.3 billion in 2020, representing a 28% profit margin, and it has a valuation of about $116 million. So with all this in mind, the question is, how does Coinbase compare in valuation? Is Coinbase overvalued, undervalued, or fair value? With Coinbase though, they're growing and making truckloads of money at the same time. Now let's take a look at the first quarter report for Coinbase for 2021, which they released before going public. Everything we just took a look at was for the entire year of 2020. Now, the 2020 report had a yearly revenue of $1.14 billion, which averages out to about $285 million in revenue per quarter. So theoretically, if we just wanted to see some kind of growth in Coinbase, we would expect to see $300 million in the first quarter. If we thought Coinbase would double its yearly revenue to about $2 billion, we would expect the quarterly revenue to be about $500 million because there are only 4 quarters in a year. But listen to this, folks. Coinbase made $1.8 billion in revenue in the first quarter of 2021 alone. In just the first quarter, they generated more money than they did in all of 2020 combined. Now, this has a lot to do with the cryptocurrency boom at the beginning of 2021, but still, these numbers are mind-boggling. If we were to analyze the Q1 revenue, which might be a bad idea because we probably don't expect crypto to boom like this all the time, but anyway, if we analyze the quarter 1 revenue by multiplying it by 4, we estimate that Coinbase could make a revenue of $7.2 billion in 2021. That's a year-over-year revenue growth of 7x. But wait, this gets even better. The actual net profit that Coinbase made in the first quarter of 2021 is even higher. They made about $730 million in net profit in the first quarter, which represents a profit margin of about 40%. In 2020, Coinbase had a 29% profit margin, but now they have a 40% profit margin. This company is absolutely insane. If we actually look at the 8K, here the company expects a profit margin of 730 million to 800 million, which is nuts. If the company profits 800 million like they expect on the high end, they could potentially profit 44%. This company is making an insane amount of money, which is basically unseen anywhere else. Even Schwab only had a 29% profit margin. I think one thing to be careful of though is annualizing the Q1 estimates, because crypto did just have a huge boom at the beginning of 2021. This boom may die out a little bit throughout the year or into the next year, which might hurt their numbers a little bit, but still, the numbers that this company is posting is insane. Coinbase is also now focusing on increasing their marketing expenses to try to bring more users into the platform. They're probably going to be increasing marketing by about 3x because they're making so much dang money right now that they realize that they might as well just use it to help grow their company. One thing for sure though is that this company's IPO day will be explosive. So while this company was privately held, each share was about $320, which gave it an earnings per share of about 1.4. This earnings per share price gave the company about a 230 times its 2020 revenue valuation. Now, with such an explosive first quarter, if we use that same 230x revenue multiple for just the first quarter profit of 730 million and assumed it was for the whole year, this company's stock price would be worth about $740 per share, which is mind-boggling. The IPO day will be mad explosive, and I would not be surprised at all if this stock ran above $700 on IPO day, even if it's expected to open below $400. If we do some quick maths and expect the quarterly EPS to be $2 and multiply that by 4 for 4 quarters, we get about $8 per share. And if people priced it at the same 230x valuation, that means this stock would be worth $1,840 per share. And that's totally possible. I think Coinbase is going to skyrocket on IPO day. Now, many IPOs run up really high at the beginning and then crash after all the hype is gone. And then they start to trade at their true valuation. In fact, 60% of all IPOs actually lose money in the first 5 years after becoming public. So my strategy with Coinbase is going to be to buy in at the opening day with about 10 to 20% of what I want to have totally invested in this company. And then if Coinbase begins to crash after a while, I will likely buy more shares at a cheaper price. Buying in initially with a small amount of capital will allow me to have some skin in the game without having to worry too much about the stock price plummeting after the hype fizzles out or something like that. I think Coinbase is one of those companies that's worth buying into at some point for the long run because this company makes so much dang money. Subscribe for more stock news and analysis, and comment below what stock you want me to cover next. Peace.